So a lot of us wonder, what kind of scale or what kind of mode do we need to learn in order, to play different genres of music. And I'm going to show you that you can take one pattern, one scale pattern, and you can just tweak it slightly, and all of a sudden you can get a completely different vibe and feel from it. So let's dive in. So the first scale that we learn on guitar is generally the minor pentatonic scale. So let's say we're in A and we come up here to our 5th fret. We can play our minor pentatonic pattern. And from here we get this typical kind of blues sound that we're kind of all used to hearing. So most of us start here, and that is an excellent way to start. One thing to keep in mind though is that this pattern will work for the major pentatonic as well. So if I take this and I move it 3 frets down, all of a sudden I can get my major pentatonic. Now my root note, my A note, because I'm in the key of A, your root note is different. So in the minor pentatonic it was here on the 7th fret, but when I move it 3 frets down, my A note ends up on the 2nd fret of the G string. So my A note is not in the same place that it was. So that's one thing to keep in mind as you move these around. Your root note is going to change where it is. But this doesn't just work with the minor pentatonic. So let's say I wanted to just tweak the minor pentatonic a little bit. So I'm going to add a note, and I may want to add this blue note, this 8th fret on the G string. That makes it my minor blues scale. This is my blue note here on the 8th fret, so if I add that in there, now all of a sudden I've got my minor blues scale. So just by adding one note, now I've got a new scale, but this once again is able to be moved. So if I move this same thing down 3 frets, that's my blue note in my major pentatonic, and now I have my major blues scale. So the same pattern moved up or down makes it major or minor. This also works with the major scale. So let's say I play my major scale. I take that same pattern and I move it up 3 frets. And now I have my minor scale. So if you know a major scale, you just move it 3 frets up the neck, and all of a sudden you got your minor scale. Or if you know a minor scale, move it 3 frets back this way, and you get a major scale. And this works for every major or minor scale, whether it's your pentatonic or your blues scale or your regular minor or major. It works both ways. So this makes it kind of easy to go back and forth between major and minor, because you're not having to learn a new pattern. It's really only one pattern. You're just moving it either 3 frets this way or 3 frets this way to make it major or minor. Now, you don't really want to just stick in these pentatonic scales or these blues scales. Occasionally you're going to want to kind of branch out and get a different sound. So let's just for a second say you wanted to play country. Country is mainly played, and there's always exceptions, so I'm just kind of generalizing. But country a lot of times is playing in this major pentatonic scale. So if you kind of play around in this major pentatonic scale, you can get a real country sound. But one of the things that country does is they'll borrow a note from the minor scale. So they'll take this blue note actually. So this part of this blues, this major blues scale, they'll take this flatted third, that's what this note is, and they'll take the flatted third and go to the major third. So say from the 5th fret on the G string to the 6th fret, that's going from the flatted third to the major third. And you can get that kind of real country sound that we're kind of used to hearing. And you could think like working man blues. So flatted third to a major major third will give you that kind of country sound, and it's just adding one note, your blue note there in your major pentatonic. Another style of music that's really only tweaking this major pentatonic is Southern rock. So let's just say, once again, we're in the key of A, and we go to our 4 chord. So we're just kind of having this vibe where we go from your A chord to your D chord, your 1 to your 4. You'll notice that this D note here, this 3rd fret on the B string, is not part of our major pentatonic. But we might want to play that, especially over the D chord, or even when we're not in the D chord, to just kind of give the feeling of going to that D chord. So they'll add this 4th, that's your 4th note in the scale. They'll keep all the other notes the same, but they'll add this 4th note into the major pentatonic. And so now you can kind of get that typical Southern rock, kind of Allman Brothers-ish, I know that's not a word, but you get my point. You get this kind of Allman Brothers feel to it. You know, you can already kind of hear it. And I'm just adding that 4th note to that major pentatonic scale, and all of a sudden I can get that Leonard Skinner, Allman Brothers kind of feel. And remember, we were going flatted 3rd to major 3rd in country. Well, I can kind of add that in as well. So let's say I was using that 4th note, and now I can use that country lick as well. And now I'm kind of mixing these genres together. So flatted 3rd to major 3rd, you know, kind of gives that country feel. Adding this 4th note in there kind of gives that Southern rock vibe that you get from the Allman Brothers. And I will suggest to you that you don't just know, say, your minor pentatonic here, and you don't know just your major pentatonic here. I suggest you learn them in different places around the neck. At first you can start with just using these positions and moving them back and forth, but eventually you're going to want to know where these patterns are kind of everywhere on the neck. So let's say I come up here to where I would play my minor pentatonic or my blues scale. I'm going to want to know where my major pentatonic is in this shape as well. So this is where this would be, around this position. And this makes it easier. Say I wanted to go from that flatted 3rd to the major 3rd like I do in country. Well, I don't have to go anywhere. It's all right here. Or say I wanted to add my 4th in. That's my 4th here. The other thing that you can do is you can start mixing major and minor together if you know where they are in the same position. So I'm going to give you an example. We'll play the 8th fret here on the E string and the 7th fret here on the B string. Now this 8th fret is part of my minor pentatonic pattern, and this 7th fret is part of my major pentatonic pattern. But I'm going to mix them together and play them at the same time. Oh, and all of a sudden I get this nice dissonant feel that I'm used to kind of hearing in some rock and blues songs. And maybe I run down my blues scale and then end it by going flatted 3rd to major 3rd. So now I'm kind of mixing different styles. I'm mixing major and minor together with this first lick, walk down my minor blues scale, and kind of end with that flatted 3rd to major 3rd to kind of give that country feel. So now I'm starting to mix different genres together because I know where my minor notes are and I know where my major pentatonic notes are, and I can start mixing them together to come up with something really unique. So don't think you have to just play in the minor or just play in the major. I suggest you play in both. B.B. King was great at mixing both together. you know, he'd be in A, coming up here to his BB King box, he would play a minor and then go back to major. And he kind of gets that typical BB King sound going between major and minor. So the other thing to keep in mind is that all of these notes you're now able to play, and that's a lot of notes that you're able to play. As a matter of fact, it's almost every single note that's even possible to play if you can mix, you know, major and minor together. So remember, add this fourth into the major pentatonic to kind of get that southern rock, flatted third to major third to kind of get that country vibe, and kind of mix them together, major and minor, you know, to kind of come up with something unique. So I really do hope this helps, and as always, if you need something, just reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you.